What is going on, gamers? Today we are going over some tips and tricks that every Skyblock player should know. These range from some super general stuff to some more niche stuff and will all make progression in this game feel much smoother. This is especially important for some of those new players or returning players to keep in mind so they don't lose out on some easy progress and stats or make some major mistakes. I also want to mention here to be on the lookout for a new Diana V2 video once Diana actually gets elected, which should be in about 2 days. Pat does have a prep video up, but I will be posting an entire guide on the new event, armor progression, and more for those of you who need it. Comment down below if you're excited for that or if there are any other videos you are looking forward to. But before we get into the tips, I do want to ask you guys to please scroll down and subscribe. We are on the hunt for 100k subscribers, and that YouTube plaque in every subscription helps me out immensely. I also want to mention here to use code Yadi on the Hypixel store for 5% off your purchase. Whether you're purchasing gems, boosters, ranks, anything, use the discount. It's free, and it's also the best way to support your favorite creator, Yadi. But with that out of the way, let's get into it. The first tip is literally just going to be using gemstones. I think a lot of people get scared away from losing gemstones because you see like a perfect jasper costs 30 mil and it only grants however much strength it is. I don't know, 14 strength outside of dungeons, whatever it is. But even just buying like a fine, which is 63k, is just bonus stats. I also know that some people don't like to unlock gemstone slots because they don't feel like they're getting a return on their coin investment, but there are multiple situations where it is 100% worth it to unlock those slots. The first would especially be Devon's armor. The second would be Necron armor because of how powerful gemstone scaling is in dungeons, or really any dungeon armor. To put into perspective how good gemstones are, 2 perfect jaspers are a larger damage boost than a fully 10-starred piece. It's my recommendation to get at least flawless gemstones added to most things because they really aren't that expensive, and when you start to gain enough cash flow income, you can start upgrading the armor and weapons that matter most with perfect gemstones. The next tip would be to buy cheap attributes. The attribute revamp is the most recent large update to Skyblock, at least before Diana V2, and now the new system is pretty awesome, I'm not gonna lie. Being able to permanently claim stat bonuses to your account are always going to be extremely strong. Do you remember OG Fairy Souls? Does the term Greek demigod ring any bells? Especially if you aren't Iron Man, a lot of these shards can be bought for extremely cheap on Bazaar and should be purchased by most players. Attributes should still be grinded for on Iron Man profiles, it just takes a lot more effort. I recommend using the website Sky Shards, which will be linked in the description, to show the cheapest and fastest way to achieve these shards. It's also Iron Man friendly. Or look at your spreadsheet to see the cheapest shards there are, which can be found in the Discord, or I'll put it in the description. Especially for early game players, if you are able to grind a Rift or Hunting method for 30 mil per hour, which there are still several in the Rift, you can max most attributes for pretty cheap, and pretty early game as well. Tip number 3 is going to be using a Discord calculator to see what the cheapest MP is. I think by now most players understand how important MP is. It's simple. The more MP you have, the more stats you have. The more stats you have, the less you die, the faster you kill mobs, the less you run out of mana, etc. But as I've been reviewing profiles, there are so many early game players that aren't getting MP efficiently or even reasonably. Like there was someone who recently had like 500 or 700 MP, but didn't have a scavenger talisman, which costs 25k coins. So what I recommend is joining my Discord in the description, heading on over to the bot commands channel, and typing /missing. You then just add your name, and the bot will show you what MP you are missing. And I'm not updated with the new update, so I actually am missing MP, but normally I would be fully maxed. This will show you the best bang for your buck based on AH prices, as you can see, money per MP. Unfortunately, this does not include the most efficient time to recom your tallies, at least I don't think so, but the general rule of thumb is divide the amount of MP you gain by the price of a recom. For example, if the cost per MP of recomming legendary tally to mythic would be roughly 9 mil divided by 6, that would be 1.5 mil per MP. The only other thing to consider is recomming epics into legendaries for bonus stats, because you can use enrichments then. Tip number 4 is going to be using Skyhanni to see your cheapest farming fortune. If you are farming and not using Skyhanni, you are doing something wrong. The mod supports both 1.8 and 1.21 and can be found in my Discord, and has a metric ton of features for all parts of the game, not just farming, but it was originally created for farming, and that's where it shines. I'm not going to go over the entire mod. You can look through it or watch my mods guide, but there is a command you can run with this mod called /ff. This screen will show you all of your progress towards maxing farming fortune, and while for most people it is probably not worth it to get absolute max fortune, there's also a screen that shows you the cheapest farming fortune options you have left. No, I don't have any left, that's why I chose nothing here. This screen is extremely nice because then you don't have to manually keep track of all the sources of farming fortune, because as you can see, there are a lot. Tip number 5 is just going to be to do your dailies. Dailies are by far the most efficient way to progress time-wise, especially if you cannot play the game for long periods of time. I've already made a video on all of the dailies in the game that you should be doing every day, which I will have linked in the description. So if you want more information, be sure to check that video out. The best part about dailies is completing everything that you should be doing every day shouldn't take more than an hour, and if you skip dungeons, and probably the Crimson Isle, it will only take you like 5 minutes a day. I still recommend doing both of those, especially if you hate dungeons, like I used to, because doing dailies is the most efficient way to progress through dungeons, because you get a daily 1.5 times EXP bonus to both kata and class experience for the first 5 runs of the day. And honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if they end up making dailies even stronger because they continue to make that class average grind easier and easier. A lot of dailies also make easy AFK coins, such as Rift dailies and Garden dailies. The next tip is going to be following the mare cycle. Other than dailies, following the mare cycle is by far the most efficient way to progress through this game. And it's long term. You can spend as much time grinding each mare as that Skyblock year lasts, although it is offsetted to have the elections occur after the new year. The buffs you get from grinding a skill during its respective mare is just so strong. You get stronger stats, cheaper chests during Paul and faster runs during Paul, boosted double hook chance during Marina, increased fishing experience and custom mobs and events. That's farming during Finnegan makes absolute bank. Chimera grinding during Diana makes absolute bank, and there's even special mares. Derpy increases all XP gain, including Catacombs and class average, by 50%. Jerry gives a massive bonus to all stats, including all 3, possibly 4, I don't remember, perk mares on a 6-hour cycle. And Scorpius grants access to some of the rarest items in the game, as long as you have the coins. And if you have the coins, you can make hundreds of millions of coins on investments. Tip number 7 is going to be multitask. And this kind of goes along with mare cycle, but multitasking is so powerful in this game, especially if you ever want to progress quickly or max Skyblock XP. And so many things can be multitasked that you really don't want to get to a point where you have a skill max or you have a Slayer max, but you have to go back and grind bestiary. Go out of your way to do some of the more annoying bestiaries in dungeons, such as Lonely Spiders. Go out of your way to grind the Diana event and get bestiaries done and finish Beastmaster crest kills, as well as making money. Go out of your way to actually do the Marina specific event bestiaries. As you can see, there's a lot of bestiary multitasking that you can do. When grinding Heart of the Mountain XP, you can do 50 nucleus runs to knock those out for Skyblock XP, while also grinding Heart of the Mountain XP. Now, since they added pity, this isn't as important, but you also want to be sure to constantly get eggs during Hoppity if you ever want to end up maxing that. Or at least at the bare minimum, max out your Hitman and always claim your Hitman when there are eggs in there. I could go on, but I won't to save time. Just be sure to think about things that can be grinded at the same time for not a lot of extra effort. The next tip is use gems on skins, not cookies, and sell those skins right away. This one is for my cosmetic gamers out there. If you're ever buying gems to use for coins, I recommend spending those gems on skins and not cookies. The reason why is most of the time when a new skin comes out, there's a ton of hype surrounding that skin. I mean, look at what happened with the sheeps recently. And you can get a ton of value from your gems, anywhere from double the value to 10 or possibly even 20 times the value, depending on the skin. I also recommend selling these skins right away. Normally, you would want to hold skins and wait for the value to increase over years to build generational wealth. But due to the nature of this game, most people won't even be playing in years. Especially if those coins can boost your progress right away, you want to be selling those skins before the drastic drop a couple days later. And then sometimes it even takes months before it returns to the price that it was originally selling at when you bought it. Pat even has a garden skin that he's been holding for years that is still not turning a profit. I'm also going to mention here again that if you're ever purchasing anything in the Hypixel store, use code Yadi, you get 5% off. And if you would like pings for whenever fire sales are announced, feel free to join the Discord linked in the description. I have a bot that will automatically ping you whenever there is a new fire sale announced, and I'll also give my 2 cents on what I think the value of the skin will be. Tip number 9 is use Autopet Rules. Autopet Rules are really just a quality of life feature that were added a pretty long time ago, but I can't tell you how many people I've run into that don't actually use them. The most valuable resource in the game isn't coins, it isn't gems, it's time. So why wouldn't you want to do something that's going to save time and make your life easier? Want a pet for spawning a Slayer and get combat XP bonus and then instantly swap to a damaged pet for boss itself? You can do that. Want to set it so that when you cast your rod, a Magic Find pet comes out? You can do that too. Want a specific combat pet every time you enter combat? Want a fishing pet every time you cast a rod? Want to equip a farming pet every time you talk to a visitor? There's so many auto pets in this rule and so many combinations that you can have. Be sure to explore them. You can also have so many Autopet rules active that you will rarely ever have to manually swap pets yourself. I mean, they max out at 28. I don't even use them all. That's how many there are. Tip number 9 is roll Croaze's chests after all of your runs. And this tip is literally just math, and also something I am guilty of not doing. Ever since the introduction of this NPC, the most efficient way to reroll your chests when running M7 or F7 or really any other floor, although you probably shouldn't be rerolling any other floor other than maybe M4, is to wait until you're done with your runs or you cap out Croazius, which most people won't do, and then re-roll all of your chests instead of doing it in the run. Think of it this way. Say the drop rate of your drop you're going for is 5%, and every run increases the meter by 0.1%. So re-rolling after the first run is a 5.1% chance to get your drop. The second run is 5.2%. The third run is 5.3%. However, if you were to wait 40 runs before re-rolling, instead of gradually increasing that drop rate, every single re-roll will have a 9% chance of dropping the item, which is significantly higher than re-rolling after every run. Tip number 11 is grind coins with your best money making method to purchase gear, which will level skills faster. This has been something that I have recently, I say recently, but it was like a year ago, adopted. And it is, instead of progressing through a skill and gradually making coins like mining and farming when you first start out, starting with something that can make insane coins for early game, then using those coins to buy a setup. This is when I started recommending the Rift because I was able to make 30 million coins per hour within your first 15 hours of starting a profile. That is absolutely nuts. That has never been heard of before the Rift. This does save time in the long run because you can still go into something super consistent like mining or farming, but now you'll have the money for the gear and level up exponentially faster. The Rift also solves the problem of people who cata rush because they think mining and farming is boring because they have an option that can consistently make them coins. And then they can literally just buy a setup and grind dungeons. Either of these options work, and the Rift allows for both of them to be more efficient. Tip number 12 is play updates when they release. This is something I struggled with for the longest time. And frankly, I don't really know why. Does anyone else not like doing something when literally everyone else is doing it and is telling you to do it? Like when Breaking Bad was popular, everyone and their mother was telling me I absolutely had to watch it. If there's one thing I ever did on this earth, it was watch Breaking Bad. So what do you think I did? Not watch it. At least not until the hype died down, and to this day I still haven't watched it. I also used to play Skyblock like this, but quickly transitioned after a few large updates. The reason why is because, especially in large updates where there are a lot of niche things, and especially for Diana V2 with the new fragment that's coming out, it is so easy to make hundreds of millions of coins on a brand new profile, and even more if you have even a little progress. Another example would be, look at Will Waterprism. He started a new profile for the release of Galatea, and after a few days had hundreds of millions of coins. And after the first week, I believe he had like 1 billion coins of net worth. That's nuts. Now obviously this isn't sustainable, and the prices of Galatea drops have since come way down to what they were supposed to be, but you could have literally farmed anything and made hundreds of millions, if not billions of coins. This is something every player, especially every new player, should do. The next tip is going to be to save you guys money, and it's always sell offer and always buy order. So many people lose out on easy coins, and I don't understand it because they are impatient, and sometimes people even lose out on billions of coins because they are impatient. Yes, I'm talking about using the bazaar. There's no reason you shouldn't always be sell offering and always be buy ordering. Most items fill relatively quickly, if not instantly, and saving those extra 15 minutes most of the time don't matter. I have easily saved a couple billion coins, and on top of that made tens of billions of coins off of bazaar investing and flipping between margins just because people are impatient. It's the same reason people go to lowballers, and it's the same reason people lowball because it makes a lot of money because people are just impatient. I never understood that. Lowballers make their entire net worth because people are too lazy to sell their own gear or actually figure out prices, which really isn't that hard. All you have to do is just look at bazaar or look at AH. Not insta buying also saves you from the possibility of someone bazaar manipulating and setting enchanted golden carrots to 40 mil per, and then someone buying 80 of them and losing billions of coins. This might sound absurd, but I've seen it happen multiple different times. Tip number 14 is don't liquidate. Liquidating is a mistake I see a lot of new players make, and this kind of goes along with the impatience part above. A lot of people will get bored of a skill and they'll be like, well, I don't think I'm gonna grind dungeons anymore. I might as well just sell the setup and use it for something else. But this is bad for many reasons. The first of which being sometimes you end up hating the skill you go into because you've never really grinded it before. And then you have to resell the setup you just bought and lose money to either taxes or due to market cycles. The more often you do this, the more taxes you pay and the more money you lose. People are also just kind of dumb. For example, I've seen people sell a mining setup during some random mayor because they want to stop mining, and then when Cole gets elected into office and fiestas are scheduled, everyone rushes to rebuy their mining setup, paying 20% more than they paid for it, and on top of losing out on all the age taxes you pay when selling your setup, or even just the margin when selling it to a lowballer, which still doesn't make a lot of sense. What makes more sense is going into something like mining, farming, or even the Rift and producing consistent coins, then buying another setup. That way you don't have to liquidate for mayors. Wouldn't it be better to just be able to swap between a farming setup and a mining setup without having to constantly sell one for the other? That's how you actually build a reasonable amount of net worth and don't get stuck between a rock and a hard place. Tip number 15, don't buy a giant sword. This one will be short and sweet. A giant sword is really just not needed ever. It's overpriced and overall pretty much the same as the Felthorn Reaper while being triple the price. And actually, for dungeons clear as a berserker, you can always swap between a Felthorn Reaper for minis and a Bouquet of Lies to clear hordes of mobs. And even outside of dungeons, a Felthorn Reaper is still fine compared to giant sword. And if you ever want to grind slayers, you might as well just get the slayer specific weapons because they're going to be better in terms of damage, and most actually give bonus combat wisdom for that specific slayer. Giant sword is just totally lost in progression until they update the game. Tip number 16 is do the Dwarven Events. Dwarven Events actually recently got buffed. You should definitely be doing Dwarven Events whenever you see them because it's the best way to build Mithril Powder. And even though Mithril Powder isn't as bad to grind as it used to be so bad. So many people still have that misconception that it takes forever. Well, if you passively do Dwarven Events whenever you happen to be in Dwarven Mines, this will speed up the process of Mithril Powder grinding by a very solid amount. It's also pretty decent for Heart of the Mountain XP. Tip number 17 is use Legion. Legion is by far the strongest armor ultimate enchant there is in the game, and it's useful for literally everything in the game. At least that's what I would have said until they changed it to only buff combat, stats, and magic find. I mean, Legion was literally the most efficient way to craft pets, going into Hub 1 and praying for a legendary with increased pet luck with full Legion on. But still, it's the best ultimate enchant to have in your dungeon armor, and it's much cheaper than Habanero Tactics for Slayers. Up until they fixed Habanero Tactics, which took several years, it used to be best in slot. For some reason, most players always go for the budget wisdom or even last stand, which is, oh my god, it's terrible. But both of these are pretty much useless, unless it's on like an Aurora set. Even Legion 1 is going to buff your survivability and damage more than Wisdom 5, unless you're constantly swapping to Healing Wand and a Florid Sword. Tip number 18 is don't waste money on max enchants or perfect gemstones until you probably have over 10 billion coins of net worth. And when I say max enchants, I mean T7s and probably Habanero Tactics. Otherwise, the most cost-effective way to build your armor is with T6s because they are a decent amount more stats than T5s and a fraction of the cost of upgrading from T6 to T7. I mean, look at this price difference. Now, I do want to mention that Tier 7 enchants have gotten much cheaper over time, but it still isn't worth diving into until you have most of your setups pretty close to late game. And while I did just talk about how important gemstones are, the same thing still applies to gemstones. Flawless gemstones are a fraction of the cost of perfects, and you'll still get most of the bonus stats from them. And just to reiterate, especially because of how gemstones scale in dungeons, you need at least some gemstones. The first things you should be upgrading to perfects would be your dungeon gemstones and your mining setup. The first thing to put T7s on is probably going to be your Terminator. And probably the second best thing would be building your Daedalus Blade. Tip number 19 is going to be make friends, not enemies. I'm sure everyone has had an experience like this, but especially as you start to play this game for long periods of time, a lot of people that are at the top have also and will continue to play for just as long as you. Things are almost always more efficient and more fun with others, and being a massive jerk online usually is not in your best interest. Hypixel Skyblock may seem like a large game, but to be honest, it really isn't, especially in dungeons. Most of the time, if you play enough M7 Party Finder, you will run into the same players. No reason to act awful online, spread positivity and fun, and level up your accounts together. Enough of the cheesiness, but just seriously, just be polite, it's not that hard. Depending on the person you get on the wrong side of, you never know what they're capable of. Better to just not get on that wrong side in the first place. Tip number 20 is going to be unlock the Hex, but specifically to just see what items are missing on your weapon. When the Hex came out, it was one of the best quality of life updates to date. Just having a hub where you can see absolutely everything that can go on an item was essential, because look at this, there are so many freaking items. Honestly, it probably is a little bloated in terms of all the extras they have added. I think the admins need to find a way to consolidate and streamline stuff so it makes more sense and content isn't as overwhelming for new players, but for now, we have the hex. And there have been many super cheap ways to unlock the hex because the requirements to unlock it are a little stringent for new players. And honestly, I'm not sure if any of them still work. But all it was just using a super cheap, overvalued item by the game to put it in your museum to try to get to 100 million coins of museum value, and then you could use the hex. My recommendation is try to look those up on YouTube, or if you are a player that should have the hex unlocked but don't, just go unlock it. Tip number 21 is check out Essence Shop buffs. There are so many good and especially cheap Essence Shop perks that people are missing out on by either forgetting or not realizing they are there. And even if you don't fully unlock a perk, even grabbing the first super cheap upgrades will make a major difference. This is very similar to attributes as well. I mean, there's so many upgrades, like better boss quality loot in dungeons, stronger blessings, more charges on your dungeon breaker, more combat wisdom in various slayer areas, increased class XP, reducing the mana cost of your abilities in the Spider Essence Shop, buffing your stats within Kudra, increasing vitality, increasing the chance of spawning Scathas, increasing the chance of catching gold and diamond trophy fish, getting extra items in nucleus runs, unlocking shurikens are some of the main great perks. And there are others that are still good as well, I just didn't want to keep naming them. This is also just one of those things that you should always keep in the back of your head. And if I were to restart my profile, I would probably try to max these ASAP once I've started to build net worth through a money-making method or the Rift. Fairy Souls no longer give you the stats of a Greek demigod, but between attributes and essence shops, these can for cheap. Tip number 22 is going to be always EXP share pets. Although to be honest, I don't think I'm EXP sharing a pet right now, but you should be. This one is honestly pretty self-explanatory no matter what you're doing. If you can afford it, you should be leveling a pet through EXP share of the respective skill you're grinding, and honestly, depending on what you're doing, you should just be straight up leveling pets when grinding stuff, because it accounts for a lot of the money made when grinding stuff. A ton of coins still come from leveling G-Drags if you can, or leveling other pets when doing things like claiming visitors on garden, grinding commissions, doing your experimentation tables, grinding flares for vanquishers, grinding blaze for blaze 9, you know, yada yada yada. And you know, the prices of golden dragons may have gone down, but it's still the best pet to level if you can. It does get kind of expensive because it takes a while to end up maxing these pets if you're only EXP sharing them, and markets do fluctuate, but if you aren't EXP sharing them, you're losing money. Over the course of my Skyblock career, I've made probably 500 mil, if not a billion coins just from EXP sharing pets, not from leveling pets, from EXP sharing them. I know for a fact I've fully EXP shared a G-Drag to level 200, and several other pets. Take the free money that the game is giving you. Tip number 23 is to always have an Elizabeth upgrade going. As much as I like to yap, there really isn't much to yap about on this one. If you are an experienced player, you might have these all done already, or at least all the free ones, but as a new player, the Elizabeth upgrades take forever to max. It's like half a year or something combined. So you might as well start working on them now. They are definitely solid boosts, especially the extra minion slots. If you're ever wanting to spend gems to fully max out your profile, be sure to use code Yadi for 5% off the Hypixel store. Sorry for the double plug, I just had to do it because anytime we talk about gems, it's kind of like built into my system now. I don't know if you guys have noticed other Skyblock YouTubers when they talk about their code, it's like, if anyone ever brings up gems or money, use code Yadi. I'm just trying to save you guys money in real life. Tip number 24 is don't think, just do it. Kind of like Nike. The more reviews I do, the more metric ton of people tell me they are lost in the game and don't know what to do. I don't believe that. This game is so incredibly hard to get lost in that even if you put yourself in a pickle and hit rock bottom and liquidate everything you have, your profile can always be redeemed, and pretty quickly, to be honest. I think more realistically what happens is someone makes a decent sized mistake, feels like they lost out on a ton of progress and money, then gets super demotivated and ends up quitting. You tend to see this a lot when people get ratted because they lose their entire profile, but as long as you keep your skills and permanent stats, or even if you have to restart your profile, the game isn't entirely lost. And the cool part about restarting your profile, which, you know, maybe I should start a series of restarting a profile, is you can probably get back to the point you were at 10 times faster than before, especially with how easy the admins have made early game and how much of the grinds they're cutting down on. All of this is just to say that if people spent more time grinding something, literally anything, they would be so much better off in the game than waiting around for someone to tell them what to do or begging for coins in the hub. It absolutely amazes me the amount of people that will spend hours begging in the hub for coins, get 2 mil worth of stuff, and then think if those people wouldn't have been kind enough to give them something, they would have never gotten anywhere. Newsflash, you have the ability to make between 30 to 50 mil an hour within your first 30 hours. Just go out and do it. Tip number 25 is don't wait on updates to decide to grind something. Usually this is pretty smart and efficient and saves time. at least in most games. Unfortunately, in Hypixel Skyblock, the game simply isn't updated fast enough to make it worth it. Like, people have waited months of not playing Dungeons to wait for Dungeon Breaker to come out, and now it's out, but it still was months that you were waiting, and I would bet a very solid amount of people just ended up getting bored and moved on to another game. I mean, Palika literally waited 6 years before getting Foraging 50. Now, is this the player's fault? Of course not. This is on the admins, and they need to get their stuff together and start streamlining updates in 1.21 if they want to keep their current player base and possibly even end up gaining new players. I know! Imagine that! But regardless, you have to deal with what you were dealt. It's kind of like people that complain about the appeal system. Yes, maybe it's not the best, and maybe a lot of replies are automated, or not automated, but kind of copy-paste for PR reasons. But the appeal system has been like this, and you've known this for years, so don't even leave it up to them. Don't do anything shady that can be interpreted as bad. When I used to play football, they used to tell us, don't leave anything up to the refs. Leave no doubt. Tip number 26 is understand that Hypixel Skyblock is an MMORPG that is very grindy. But you don't have to grind if you don't want to. There are so many different ways to progress relatively quickly in Skyblock with great progress to playtime ratio, as proven by many people. Honestly, I haven't had a ton of time to play the game as of recently, and I've considered starting a new profile where I only play for an hour a day or 7 hours a week. Let me know if this is something you guys would like to see, because it would be relatively easy to upload, and I will also be able to showcase how much progress you can make when you can't play for very long. Like, I know a lot of kids that play this game can't always grind for tens of hours a day, like a certain YouTuber named CandyPat. And I'm not anything special. I'm not overly skilled. If I can do it, so can you. The most efficient way to progress is following the Mare cycle, as mentioned already. The most efficient way to progress are doing dailies, as mentioned already. You can also make a lot of coins for passive investments, as well as minions. Tip number 27 is if something is too grindy, then don't do it. Now, this is relative, but over 100 hours and you don't want to do it, wait on an update. I know I just got done saying earlier that you shouldn't wait for admins to update the game to do something because you will be literally waiting years, but this is for more of the extremely boring and grindy grinds. For example, a lot of people will wait on bestiaries of new updates because they get nerfed or made easier a couple months after, with the most recent examples being Galatea Fishing Bestiary and the Bio Fishing Bestiary. Don't want to grind 250 mil collection of every farming collection in the garden? Don't! Just wait a couple years and they'll introduce an AFK cookie clicker mutant farming method on top of nerfing milestones down further. Don't want to pour hundreds of hours into class average 50 and being one of the few elite to do it? Don't! They will eventually nerf the experience requirement or continue to add more and more ways to gain kata and class XP at a faster rate. We can have discussions about admins and their respect for players' time versus what is good for the game, but that's for another video. For now, do what they have conditioned you to do. Don't waste your time on long grinds that will likely be made easier down the line. Tip number 28 is learn dungeon routes and tech. Now that the Dungeon Breaker is finally out, none of you have excuses for not learning routes. There is very little tech still in the game that isn't accessible to the average player, which is a good thing, or even to the below average player. Take the time to look up effective routes. I know that Flame of War just posted an updated video on his Dungeon Breaker routes. Build custom waypoints through the Odin mod and learn the intricacies of dungeon floors. This will save you time in the long run and will also help you make friends through dungeons, like one of the tips we mentioned before. The more people that enjoy playing with you, the more parties you will get, the easier grinding dungeons becomes. And also the more fun grinding dungeons becomes. Like, there's a reason why I give you guys the tips I do, because a lot of them combine, kind of like the multitask tip, to make you that much better of a player and make your life that much easier. I know it might seem daunting, but honestly learning everything really shouldn't take you that long at all. And from my experience becoming relatively good at dungeons, yes, I know a lot of people get upset that I'm calling myself good, but it is relative, is very fun, and it is also one of the most rewarding skill-based curves in the game. Maybe the Dungeon Breaker has removed some technical skill from clear, but it has opened things up to so many more players. And by the way, compared to the average player, yes, I am good at dungeons, even if I may be watched at this point. Tip number 29, and the last tip, is if you are early game, the best thing you can do is just intake information. This kind of goes along with getting lost or overwhelmed and feel like you are constantly stuck or don't know what to do. So to combat this, I recommend just constantly seeking information. Ask questions to other players, watch YouTube videos from YouTubers who have a lot more experience than you, and simply just watch and profile view higher level players. I've learned so much about different skills and metas just from /PVing high level players, especially when wondering about gear requirements or recommendations for dungeons, or even something like pest farming. I literally have a channel in my Discord called the Ask for Help channel where anyone can ask questions, so feel free to ask in there if you are ever wondering literally anything. We have a great community in there and people are always looking to help one another and grow together. I also have a plethora of guides and progression videos on the channel and we'll continue to update them for you guys and post more, so you always have a place to go if you ever need some direction or need a comprehensive guide to a skill to start getting into it. And boys, that's all I got. I know I may have yapped too much in this video, so it might come out in 2 separate videos. We'll see what editing Yadi does, but those are the best tips that I have for you guys right now. If you did enjoy this video, please let me know in the comments, and also let me know if you want more targeted tips for each individual skill, slayer, dungeon, etc. As always, subscribe, use code Yadi, join the Discord, follow the Twitter, check out the Twitch, and have an amazing rest of your day.